how are Canadians going to win the trade war between themselves and the US of A? Well, there's one website they could ban that could do some damage. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the quote-unquote trade war between the US and Canada. As most of you guys know, we've imposed tariffs on them, and they are trying to impose tariffs on us. And they're trying to ban some of our products, talking about, oh, we're not going to have any American whiskey, we're not going to have Florida orange juice, things of this nature. Or they may not say we're not going to have Florida orange juice. They'll just tell Canadians don't buy Florida orange juice, things like this. And there's a little bit of soft resistance, like when there's a pro sports game and they sing the US national anthem, some, not all Canadians will boo. That's kind of what they're thinking about as far as retaliating against us for the so-called trade war. Now, there's a comedian, and he has proposed that they ban Pornhub. Can I say that on YouTube without getting flagged? They want to ban that site because that's a Canadian website. I didn't know that. And there's a bunch of other adult websites under that umbrella. Now, this is a proposal or a joke from a comedian. It's not really from their politicians, just to make that clear. They have their own suggestions. We'll get to that in a minute. But first things first, let's get to what Trump said about the tariffs. And then we're going to get to some of the Canadian politicians. Of course, I will link to this video and all others in the box. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
In Canada, we find that they're charging us over 200% for dairy products. You know about that. And when I left, we had that well taken care of. But under Biden, they just kept raising it. Very difficult to deal with the Canadian representatives. 250% for dairy products, tariff. So where do you hear that? You don't hear that. They have a tremendously high tariff. Give you the exact numbers in a little while coming out on lumber. So they sell us lumber. They have a tremendous tariff. They make it impossible for us to sell lumber or dairy products.
Let's pause for a second. Now, the whole thing about lumber, I saw something I read about the U.S. increasing domestic lumber production because we become too reliant upon foreign lumber. You know, we're trying to build houses and rebuild this country. We're going to have an issue with lumber if we got to depend upon foreign countries. So let's produce more of it here. ABL, what about the environment? Oh, okay, so let's go ahead and quote unquote destroy someone else's environment rather than our own. And at the end of the day, we got to have the lumber. So it is what it is.
Into Canada, but our numbers are a tiny fraction of that, almost non-existent. And what we're doing is freeing up our forests from the environmental nonsense that they put on them, where you can't cut down a tree. And we have to cut down trees in order to build the firewalls. And those trees are sold, but we're freeing it up on an emergency basis because Canada has been ripping us off for years on tariffs for lumber and for dairy products. 250%, nobody ever talks about that. 250% tariff, which is taking advantage of our farmers, so that's not going to happen anymore. They'll be met with the exact same tariff unless they drop it. And that's what reciprocal means. And we may do it as early as today, or we'll wait till Monday or Tuesday. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to charge the same thing. It's not fair. Never has been fair.
There we go. So that's what Trump says about the tariffs. Now, who is this right here? You guys let me know who this is. Canadian official. Let's check it out.
Today, I am announcing that the government of Canada, following a dollar-for-dollar approach, will be imposing, as of 12:01 a.m. tomorrow, March 13th, 2025, 25% reciprocal tariffs on an additional $29.8 billion of imports from the United States. This includes steel products worth $12.6 billion and aluminum products worth $3 billion, as well as additional imported U.S. goods worth $14.2 billion for a total of $29.8 billion. The list of additional products affected by counter-tariffs includes computers, sports equipment, and cast iron products as examples.
Now, there's more, but you get the idea of what's going on. There's tariffs. We got a trade war. It's going back and forth. Now, this woman here, she has, Karina Gould. She's member of parliament for Burlington. All right. Let's see what she says.
And I'm going to call on Canadians to stop going to Florida, to stop buying Florida orange juice, because that's a $50 billion economy in that state alone. Canadians matter to the United States.
All right. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Canadians don't matter. The one thing, well, I would say they have two main things that we need in this country. They have water and energy. That's what we need the most from Canada. A lot of the other stuff, I mean, we can actually get that from somewhere else. But where else are you going to get Florida orange juice? where else are you going to get Florida orange juice other than Florida? I'm sure there's more nations that produce orange juice, but Florida orange juice comes from Florida. All right. Now, here's a comedian talking about banning the P-Hub.
Okay, everybody, the Americans are hitting us with tariffs. We gotta fight back. What do you got? We can shut down every single Tim Hortons they have in the US. Nobody likes Tim's anymore. It tastes like piss.
What is Tim Hortons? I've heard that name before, but I've never in my life seen one in person or been to one. Or maybe I have seen it and I didn't notice it. It might have just kind of escaped my vision because it's Canadian. I'm playing. But what is that really? Y'all let me know in the comments.
What else? Okay, what about Lululemon? That's Canadian.
Wait a minute now. Let's not go too far. I love Lululemon, actually. Yes, they have men's clothing. No, it's not yoga pants. I'm not out here looking like a Starbucks Katie with my hind part showing. It's actually men's wear that fits men the way it's supposed to. So shout out Lululemon.
Okay, now we're talking. Keep going. All right, here's one. Pornhub. That's Canadian? Yep, Pornhub is Canadian. You're telling me we had a nuke this whole time and no one told me about it? Yeah, we can totally just ban Pornhub in the States and that'll give us an advantage, right? Oh, you don't say. Yeah, that's an advantage. We f***ing win. That's it. Mic drop. What else are they gonna do? Knit?
Alrighty, so there we go. Again, this is a comedian guy. I'll link to him in the box. His name is Matthew. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. It's a bunch of consonants and vowels that don't go together. But shout out to Matt for the funny little skits on the interwebs. Now, what's my opinion about banning P-Hub? I'm not necessarily against it. There's a bunch. When I say a bunch, I mean a bunch of alternatives. And I don't think this would hurt Americans as much as it would hurt Canadians, because this is probably going to be a big industry for them. Not just for them, but for those who upload to the site. I don't even know if it's going to really affect Canadians. How many jobs are going to be lost as far as working for the actual .com itself, doing administrative functions and moderations? Like, how much of that is actually Canadian people getting money? I don't really know. But it's not really going to hurt Americans, really. And then, of course, there's VPNs. You can get around that. With TikTok, it was different. People tried to use VPNs for TikTok, but what they did with TikTok is just shut off the U.S. Western servers. So there was no TikTok to access in theory. You know, you couldn't get to that because it just was not available. But that website, it probably won't be the same way. Even if it is and you can't access it with a VPN, there's a bunch of alternatives. Furthermore, I think a lot of people would stop going to some of these websites as much if it was not so easily available. Putting a little bit of roadblock in front. Okay, ID verification, all kind of stuff like that may prevent people from going there. Same thing with a VPN. Oh, I can't access it here. I got to get a VPN. Maybe, just maybe, Americans wouldn't go to the website as much, therefore contributing to our increase in health. You know, one thing I saw as I close, I'm going to say this. One thing I saw was a study that said that people who had contracted the China virus had like a 20% increase in erectile dysfunction. But you know what I think happened? People who were locked down, quarantined, whatever they want to call it, didn't leave their house, were by themselves, had a lot of free time and money on their hands. So now it's like, okay, let me go to this one particular website a lot. Start with a only and ends with a fans. Let me go to that website because now I got some money. But once you are able to start meeting women again, are you able to do that? Or is your brain conditioned to pay the $2.99 and interact that way? So, like I'm saying, if Americans did not go to these websites as much, maybe that would increase our health. You're not really going to ban this stuff. I mean, there's so many ways to get it. I mean, truthfully, if you want to be all the way real, Instagram, the things I see on Instagram that's just regular and normalized 15 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, would have been completely absurd. Back in my day, seeing somebody's naked hind parts just out like that was considered to be nudity. But now you have regular girls on their Instagram doing that. So I'm saying you're not really going to be able to ban like adult imagery on the internet. I think that's how the whole internet was built off of that. So you're not really going to be able to ban it. But if you just reduced some of the mainstream stuff and kind of cut down on the access, that would just be a net benefit, in my humble opinion, for Americans. So as I close, I want to say this: don't threaten me with health. Don't threaten me with increasing the quality of life for Americans and the Western nations as a whole. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about the so-called trade war between the U.S. and Canada? Think it's right thing to do, wrong thing to do, whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. What's your opinion about banning the hub? Good idea, bad idea, against free speech? Is it going to cause chaos, riots, confusion? Is it going to be like the way TikTok was when that got banned for half a day? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I couldn't really care less because you're not really going to stop the adult industry on the internet. And if you put a dent in it and made Americans and others slow down their consumption, that's just a net positive for everybody. You're going to get increased productivity. You're going to have better health. You're going to just, you're going to increase the quality of life for a lot of people, in my humble opinion. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.